It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by AgileDad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. I heard someone tell me recently that story points were trash and that we shouldn't use them. I even heard the person go as far as to say ideal work days are better and an ideal work environment. And they went on to explain how time-related estimates were better. And it really threw me for a loop because that's not exactly how I feel. I see these posts from time to time where people say story points are trash or it's not going to work. And I can tell you that I disagree. On every team that I've worked with, I've found a way to make story points work. When you use story points, it triggers really good conversations about effort and complexity, not just how long it takes one person to do it or another person. And it's not like an auction where you're selling it off to the highest bidder. What winds up happening is you end up creating an environment where the teams feel so much better about what they're doing, and it gives you a chance to discuss variances or discuss other options about how you're going to do things. And if you're doing strictly time-based estimates, it's going to be different by each person based on their skills, tool sets, levels of experience. Sometimes the person who's brand new out of college has more experience than a person who's been doing it for years. Other times, when you switch topics and it's something that's been around for a long time, the person who's been there the longest has the most experience, and they're the ones who should lead the charge. But I think that if you're not using story points, you're going to miss out on this. So it's one of these things where story points become problematic when you try to tie them back to time. So if you try to tie a story point back to an hour, a day, an ideal day, somebody challenged me once and said, I'm only dealing in ideal days. And I said, well, my ideal day is, uh, um, you know, feet in water, butt in sand, drink in hand, right? So for me, that's an ideal day. And for many people, that might not be the ideal day. So the question becomes, one person's ideal day may not be another person's ideal day. So how do you then reconcile that? How do you then make that right? There's so many things that you need to consider that it makes it hard for you to reconcile if you don't really understand story points. So for me, I think it's not a matter of saying story points are perfect, time is not, but it's more a matter of determining within an organization what works for them. So I'll give you one example. There was an organization who recently contacted me that talked about, we fought the battle of story points and no one understood it because it was so ambiguous. And if story points aren't explained correctly, then you're going to end up in a situation where no one's going to want to do it. No one's going to want to use them. No one's going to want to even approach story points. People are going to be like, no, we're not going to do that. So you need to understand first and foremost that there's three key takeaways here. And let me make sure you get all three. One, time-based estimates are probably going to be the most inaccurate. 16.9% accuracy, 17%, just not where you want to be. And the reason for that is because people struggle using time-based estimates for simple things, much less trying to use a time-based estimate for something really complex. So that's the first takeaway. The first takeaway is time-based estimates probably aren't the way to go. The second takeaway is most organizations are not explaining story points or letting teams understand story points in a way that makes sense. They are driving teams to use story points in a way that no one understands, and they're not explaining it. It becomes ambiguous, and then people start tying it back to time, and then you're reducing your accuracy again. So if you're trying to get accurate estimates, I've seen teams get up to 24 to 30% accurate when I start tying story points back to time. So it's a little better than 17, but still not where you need to be. If you properly understand how to leverage things like t-shirt sizes, dog sizes, dinosaur sizes, story points in their true form, you can get that accuracy all the way up to 85%. But you have to let go of time to do it. And I think that's the struggle that many organizations run into. They just automatically say, I don't understand how to do this, so we're going to throw that away and we're not going to use it anymore. When in actuality, it just becomes a point of reflection. What was it about this that we didn't understand, and how do we move forward? So for that organization who told me, hey, we want to use ideal days, ideal development days, that's great. As long as it's not an ideal developer day, it's an ideal development day, you can use that as your way of tying back to story points or not tying back to story points. and get more accurate than you did if you just used time. But the absolute best way is to remove time altogether. And that's what I found to be true with most organizations. So, story points certainly aren't trash. It's just another talking point for us to figure out how did we get here, what happened, and can we take time out of the equation? If you get those three things done, you're going to be in good shape. That's going to do it. We'll keep it short and sweet. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, learn more at agiledad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.